Okay, it's 7 o'clock. It's time for us to get started. I'm Lally Lloyd, the director of All Our Children Network, and I'm going to turn it over to Mary Liz for a couple of moments to do some overall introduction to participants. We know that folks will be joining us over the next couple minutes. We have about 20 people signed up for this evening, but we're going to go ahead and get started. And after Mary Liz says a few words, I'll be right back to you. So to you, Mary Liz.
Thanks, Lally. My name is Mary Liz Murray. You won't be hearing too much of my voice in the first half of this call after I'm done with my announcement, but I will be helping facilitate the Q&A later in the evening. I am the Associate for Network and Community Development with All Our Children, working with Lally, and I'm very excited to have you all here. We've been working on this for a while with Julie's help, and we're glad that you're here with us tonight. Our panelists, so all of you know who they are. Panelists, when I say your name, if you could just wave so people can identify you. I know it says your name, but it's just a little bit more visual interest there. We have Jane Taylor from St. Andrew's Parish in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Jane is a partnership volunteer with their partnership with the Lincoln Elementary School and a former educator. We have Tina Pickering from the Diocese of New Hampshire, or the Episcopal Church in New Hampshire, I think is their correct title. And she works closely with Bishop Hirschfeld in New Hampshire and has been working with their new Our Kids Commission. And Tina's going to talk to all of us about the diocesan support that might be available to congregations and how to work with your diocese to get the most support you can for your initiatives with schools. And then we have AJ Noyes, who's joining us from the Cathedral of St. Paul in Erie, Pennsylvania. AJ is the program associate there, and she was an integral part of the team that launched their church school partnership with the Emerson Gridley School about a year ago. And so she has a cathedral perspective, but also a congregational leadership perspective. And they're all available. They're going to discuss their experiences with Lally, and then we're going to have a Q&A. So be thinking of your questions and what you want to know from people who are doing the work with church school partnerships and from dioceses for how they can help you. So they're going to tell you a little bit more about themselves as well. Those are our panelists. And I will be coordinating the chat function. So for all of you listening in, there is a chat box in the lower right corner of your screen. It says chat, and in parentheses it says everyone. There's a little prompt there for you to introduce yourselves, let us know who you are, where you're from, maybe where you worship. And if you already have a question, please feel free to chat it right in there. And if you're having any technical issues, Julie Lytle is also on the phone. She's the Executive Director of Province 1. And if you've got technical questions, you can also type those in the chat box, and Julie will do her best to help us troubleshoot. Back to you, Lally.
Thanks, Mary Liz. I'm going to open us with a word of prayer. This prayer is written by Bishop Stephen Charleston, who is a member of the Choctaw tribe of the original peoples here on this continent. And he calls it the "Let Me Not Look Away, O God." Let us pray. Let me not look away, O God, from any truth I should see. Even if it is difficult, let me face the reality in which I live. I do not want to live inside a cosseted dream, imagining I am the one who is always right, or believing only what I want to hear. Help me to see the world through other eyes, to listen to voices distant and different, to educate myself to the feelings of those with whom I think I have nothing in common. Break the shell of my indifference. Draw me out of my prejudices and show me your wide variety. Let me not look away. Amen. Amen. So as folks continue to join, introduce yourselves in the chat room. And if you would, be sure that your speakers or phone microphones are on mute. That will improve the quality of everybody else's, what everyone else can hear. So thank you to Julie Lytle of the New England Province 1, the Episcopal Diocese of New England, for hosting us. Our topic tonight at this webinar is how to invite your congregation into discernment about partnering with a public school. I want to start with a couple of words about All Our Children to frame this conversation. All Our Children's mission is to build the movement for education justice by supporting congregations and their members who are exploring, forming, and leading community partnerships with public schools. And we do this because too many children, most of them living in poverty, and many of them children of color, receive a substandard education, and we do not think that this is God's dream. We believe that Jesus showed the church how to engage our communities, how to serve children, and how to challenge injustice. Our vision is of 1,000 partnerships advocating for education equity at the local, state, and national level. What we, as All Our Children, do is we host events like this, and when people can actually be together in their embodied self. We create and curate tools and resources of print, video, and online in nature that people can use at every stage of partnership development. And we connect leaders and volunteers with one another, both within their communities but also across the wider church for mutual encouragement and support and hope. This is our first of 4 monthly Tuesday, or our 4th Tuesday webinars. We'll be having them right through to the spring, but this is our very first one, and we're so pleased that you all could be with us tonight. Each month, we'll do what we're doing tonight. We've invited 3 folks to join us from within our network and speak to us from their experience on a topic that we think is of interest for other people who are starting partnerships. And we know this because we're in touch with you all and with other people who are doing this work, and we're listening for what issues are of concern to people. Our topic tonight is how to invite your congregation into discernment about a church-school partnership. We're going to spend about half an hour in discussion among me and our 3 guests, and then we'll open it up for about 15 minutes of Q&A. So as we go through and as the discussion goes, write your questions in that chat box. Mary Liz will be curating and moderating that, and there's a clarification that we can make as we go. She'll jump in, and we can make that. But most of the questions we'll save for the Q&A part. So let's see. Okay. So with the experiences of our presenters, we've got a very interesting mix tonight because Jane Taylor leads a local congregation in New Bedford that partners with a school down the street, and she's a retired teacher and has been working in that partnership for a number of years. AJ Noyes is on the staff of a cathedral in Erie, Pennsylvania, a Rust Belt city. She's been there for a long time and knows the challenges of that part of the world. And Tina Pickering is on the staff of the bishop of the Episcopal Church in New Hampshire. So we have a congregation, a cathedral, and a diocese. And that is, I think, is going to give us a really interesting mix and mingle of all that. All righty. So welcome to each of you. We've asked each of you to give some thought to introducing yourselves in a few minutes. So I'm going to start, Jane, with you in New Bedford, and then we'll go around. And would you start by just saying a little bit about who you are, the role you play in your partnership, and how it was that you felt called to pursue this school partnership work in your congregation? To you, Jane.
Thank you. My name is Jane Taylor, and I'm with St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in the north end of New Bedford. We have a partnership with the Lincoln Elementary School, which is just 1 block away from our church. And it's a partnership that's been in development probably for close to 10 years. As far as what called me and what called St. Andrews to do the work that we do, I believe it's very much twofold. From the St. Andrews point of view, as well as mine, of course, we were a church that had become quite divorced from the neighborhood in which we existed. We're nestled in a neighborhood of 2- and 3- tenement homes, and for years it was a church in which people in the neighborhood, some people in the neighborhood attended. Over the years, folks moved away to the suburbs. The congregation continued, but fewer and fewer people belonged to the congregation who lived in the actual neighborhood, to the point where there was almost no one. And over that time, we went from a church that was very much community centered as well as a spiritual religious center to one that operated for the congregation on Sundays or whenever we would have services or meetings, but very little interaction with the neighborhood. Coupled with that, we are a green space in the middle of all these tenements. And so we have always had young people use our yard to hang out, and for a lot of the time that was very productive. But over time, as we became less connected, the vandalism began to increase. So it was clear that we needed, for a number of reasons, to reconnect. And so that was one motivating factor. The other was, and thank you, Lally, for that prayer, let me not look away. I grew up in the north end of New Bedford, and although I didn't attend Lincoln Elementary School, I attended an elementary school not too far from there. And I can recall that the children that I went to school with and from the church neighborhood as well had a good education. We, on the whole, managed to either become involved in craft or went on to college or were able to become productive citizens. And I was hearing more and more and reading more and more in the local papers about how the children in New Bedford simply did not have those quality opportunities for a good education. And when I was approaching my retirement and thinking about what I might do with the time that I had available to me, I just felt compelled to try in some way to address the needs of the children in the neighborhood who deserve every opportunity that I had had in generations in between. So with those two motivations, we began to explore working with public schools. But as I said, it's probably been 10 years in development. So that's important to keep in mind. We've been in operation as a functioning partnership for 6 years. So I think I'll stop there now so that other people have a chance to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jane. AJ, would you go next, please?
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
AJ Noyes, and I'm with the Cathedral of St. Paul here in Erie, Pennsylvania. I've been at the cathedral for about 10 years and a member for 10 years, and I started working here about 9 years ago in one capacity or another. But I've been in the position of program associate, which involves communications and Christian formation for the past 2.5 years. So about 2 years ago, I guess it was, after I'd been here for a while, part of my job is to also look for new opportunities for outreach. And I knew that there were a number of city schools close by and that the Adopt a School program was something that was available in the city of Erie. So I just thought it would be a really good fit for us. We are a downtown cathedral, and even though a lot of our members do not necessarily live, even within 5-10 miles of our cathedral, we try to reach out to our community on a daily basis, really. So we have a weekly food pantry. We have a really a working outreach that we try very much, and it's very important to our congregation to build these partnerships in the community. So it seemed to be a really good fit for us. So I started calling. I believe my first step was to call the Erie City School District and ask them if there was it was called an Adopt a School, but that's not really kosher anymore. You should say a school partnership now. So at any rate, we were given the name of 2 different schools close by that, even though they're economically disadvantaged schools, the state of Pennsylvania is having a lot of trouble these days as far as state funding for schools go, especially in the district of Erie. So at any rate, there was a lot that we could do. So we began by contacting the school district, and then from there I contacted the school itself, and we chose a school that's only about 3 blocks, and it's really been a great outreach for a lot of reasons.
Great. Thanks, AJ. We look forward to hearing some more about that in a couple minutes. Tina, can you introduce yourself, say a little bit about your role there at the diocesan offices and what it was that first sort of called you to engage and connect with this opportunity?
Sure, thanks. I am what's called the executive assistant to the bishop. I work for Bishop Rob Hirschfeld, and I have been doing that for about 2 years. Much of my career in the past, before coming to work for the church, has been working with average kids or low-income people in a variety of ways. So one of the reasons that I really felt a call to this particular job was our bishop's kind of deep commitment to working with kids and closing the opportunity gap. And part of my job, a lot of my job is the traditional sort of bishop's assistant job, but a part of my job is as staff liaison to what we're now calling the Our Kids Commission, which was launched at or after convention of last year. So it's a relatively new effort. The Our Kids Commission, the sort of inspiration for the diocesan-wide effort was in part the realization that our churches were already doing a lot of things. So not every effort that's happening across the diocese is new, although there are new efforts, and we're hoping to inspire more new efforts or strengthen existing efforts. But really, some of you probably know that we have a presidential primary here in New Hampshire last year. It seems like a really long time ago at this point. And during that process, around that same time, Robert Putnam, Harvard sociologist, came out with the book Our Kids, the American Dream in Crisis, and came to New Hampshire, and there was sort of a national effort to really talk about the way that kids are being left behind in terms of opportunity and education, and that there's an increasing gap for low income and disadvantaged. It's getting worse in this country, significantly worse, not better. And so the sort of dialogue that happened around the primary and around this book in New Hampshire really spurred us on to create this diocesan-wide effort and commission. So the role of the commission really is to support, to understand and support ongoing efforts to add resources, training, and grant money to both existing and new efforts, and to kind of inspire new church-school partnerships and other efforts to reach, to step into the opportunity gap. Our bishop talks a lot about the fact that God is already out there active. God cares about the justice of providing, of changing this opportunity gap and changing this dynamic. And so there are wonderful partners out there already doing great work with kids. And where are they? Where are a lot of them? They're in our public schools. That's where our kids are, and that's where our advocates are, people that are already trying to do this work, even if it's not from a sort of spiritual or religious perspective. So how can we join God's mission? How do we as a church step outside of our walls to join with what God is already up to out in our communities to try to shift this gap and step into it, more resources?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Nope. Tina, we just lost you. Okay.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yep. We're back. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to reflect with you a little bit this question about and Jane, I think I'd like to ask you to start with this question. How long did you to sit with a feeling that you wanted to do something around engaging with a school in your area before you found the right way for you all to move forward? How long? Was that an extended period of time, or did you pretty quickly find something that clicked and allowed you to get a thing started?
Oh, it took a few years of various attempts. Our rector's first attempt was to sit in the back steps of the church and to invite the skateboarders who were flying through the property and up and down the ramps into the basement of the church. And they were very grateful to have a safe place to be, especially as winter came on, a warm place to be. We tried some one-week vacation programs, which were multi-age groups. We tried some summer programs, which again were short-term. And we came to learn, we also, and very importantly, this is probably the most critical, started volunteering in the schools, in the classrooms, so that we became a known entity. We got to know what the children were experiencing at school. We got to know more what the constituency was that we were going to be hopefully working with, and began to develop some trust between people at St. Andrews who were volunteering in the schools and the school administration, the school teachers, the support staff, the children, of course, and to a certain degree some encounters with families. That just takes time.
It takes time. Yeah, it takes time. Yeah. AJ, was that your experience between the cathedral and the Emerson Gridley? That did it take you a while to find the way of being together that that clicked, or were you able to fall into that fairly quickly?
No, it was a fairly quick process for us. I think I had the idea, and to tell you the truth, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to ask. You know, I knew that a friend who actually is on staff here is the member of a larger Presbyterian church a couple blocks away, and I knew that they had a partnership with an area school, and so I considered calling over there and seeing how they worked it. But in the end, I just ended up calling the district, and I think I talked to 2 or 3 people in the district office before they were able to put me in touch with someone who knew about these partnerships and who would be able to give me a little guidance on how to work it. But you know, it's something that you have to initiate, and you have to just be a go-getter about these things. And but you know, once I made that initial contact, and there was a district person who is actually in charge of community partnerships, and I was able to meet with her, and she gave me some guidance and whatnot. But really, I just kind of called over to Emerson, and I said, hey, I'm from the cathedral down the street, and we'd like to help you out. And I met with, my first contact there was actually their school counselor. And they have since had a change of administration, and actually it's been rather exciting to see some of the changes that are taking place there, because they've brought in a new staff, and they've also are transforming the school to a community school, which is really, really exciting, because now these children and their families will have access to social, mental health, you know, dentists, care. You know, it's just really exciting that all these things will be housed right there in Emerson Gridley. And of course, it's going to take a while, but there will be one contact person there to help guide me in how we can best assist them.
And AJ, staying with you, when you were first getting this partnership started, how did you go about inviting other people from within the St. Paul's congregation to come in? I mean, that's a theme that we want to be exploring tonight, is reaching out to the congregation and figuring out how do we invite, what is it that we're inviting people into?
Right.
So what did you find? How did you go about that? How did you decide who to reach out first, for example?
Well, you know, it was just, our first step was a general announcement. This is what we're doing. We're reaching out to the community, because that's who we are as a cathedral in the city of Erie, and that's what our congregation wants. And so the announcement was made. We have partnered with Emerson Gridley, and actually we did specifically the first grade class, which it was a nice fit because it's about 100 kids, and our average Sunday attendance is, you know, our late service is right around 150. Our total ASA is going to be 200 or so. But at any rate, it just seemed like a really nice fit. So I made the announcement. We have partnered with this school, and our first project was just a really fun one. We collected items over the course of the summer to give each of the first grade students an assortment of school supplies, as well as raising money for the polo shirts. Our city school district has uniforms, and so we raised monetary funds as well as the school supplies. And then as a congregation, one Sunday in mid-August, right before the school year started, we packed them in an assembly line, and we wrote notes for each of the gift bags that had all those school supplies. And so it was a nice hands-on experience for our congregation to have that direct connection to helping the school. And I also put out a call for anyone who would want to be to go into the school on a regular basis and tutor. And so last year, which was the 2015-2016 school year, I had about 3 tutors going in and visiting with the first graders and some other grades. And that was a good start. And at the end of the school year, we kind of rethought some things, and with the new administration at the school coming in, we were able to kind of rethink some things, and we really established a really better mode of communication. And now we've got over 8 or 9 volunteers. We're all in the first grade. Some of our volunteers are there twice a week. I am at monthly PTO meetings. I am also on the school's improvement team. I am meeting regularly with the new principal as well as the city school district, and it's just building. It takes time, but we're building it, and we're doing more and more, and it's super, super exciting.
So it sounds like you announced that the partnership was there. You established a relationship and announced it to the congregation. Had a fun, sort of low, easy to do project that helped people to get involved, but that didn't ask of a huge commitment of them. But that now you're creating opportunities for people to be forging more meaningful and deeper, longer-term relationships with the kids in the schools. Tina, I want to turn to you for a minute, and what's happening at the diocesan level is quite different than an individual school partnership, because Bishop Rob has established this commission to close the gap for the kids in New Hampshire. How are you and he working together to invite other people in the diocese into that work?
Yeah, I think the first thing that the first task that the commission took was to do kind of a ministry inventory to really learn about what churches were doing across the state, and sort of what kind of partnerships existed, what other kinds of efforts existed, how old were they, how effective were they, and one thing that we've learned, that we've seen, is that we have certain types of programs that won't surprise you. Feeding ministry being probably the most common. Some take a tote and other backpack programs, which are more specifically oriented towards schools. A number of summer camps or summer programs, after school or before school efforts, a little bit of in-school mentoring, a little bit of foster care support. So we did sort of a broad brush kind of thing to learn what was up. I think one of our observations has been that many programs are programs that invite people into the parish, like to pick up food from a food pantry, or to access tutoring or summer camp or those kinds of things. And some of those are fantastic, great programs and great partnerships. But I really liked what Jane talked about, and AJ too, about going out into schools rather than inviting kids in. When Jane talked about the priest at the church inviting kids in, and there were sort of mixed results, but then going into the schools was where you really started to understand what the need was. So that's one thing that we're doing, is trying to really encourage using some of the 10 steps that All Our Children has created, and other kind of community inventories or question-asking processes that we're encouraging churches to move out into the community and ask those questions. So that's sort of a step that the commission has taken, is to gather this information, and that's one of the observations that we've made. A lot of our parishioners are asking those questions too, particularly in a food pantry or a backpack program. What else can we do? It's great that we're feeding kids breakfast. We have one church that has opened its doors early in the morning because kids at the local school, and this came out of a need that was identified by the school. Kids at the school have parents that are going to, to jobs that start at 7:30 in the morning, and the church doesn't, the school doesn't open till 8:30, so the church is opening its doors every day to feed kids breakfast, and they can get dropped off by their parents as they go to work, so they've got a safe, warm place to go to eat breakfast and get tutoring in the morning if they haven't finished their homework. So, a feeding ministry, but one that's gone another step and created filled a real gap in that community.
Great, thank you. Jane, when St. Andrews settled on its partnership work with the Lincoln School, and did you run into resistance, or did the folks who were organizing, did you run into some pushback from folks in the congregation who thought maybe this wasn't a good idea or wasn't appropriate, or somehow thought this wasn't a valid ministry of the church, or did you run into some kind of resistance from people in the congregation?
I don't recall any real resistance, although somewhat of a watch and wait. We'll see what happens. Our congregation offers an after program for children at the church.
An after school program?
After
You're
school.
You're breaking up just a little bit. Yep.
And so because we are just a block from the school, we actually go up to the school, gather up the children who are enrolled, and send them down the street to the church for a few hours in the after school time slot. And we started out just with kindergartners. It was going to be a simple program for 15 children, no more, and we were going to provide them with a really high-quality program, and that was going to be it. And that lasted for a year. And then once we tried to let go of the first group of children and recruit the next group of children, we heard from our original group that they still wanted to come. So now we started out originally, I think that first year, with 8 kindergartners who signed up initially. We did over time, but in kindergarten, and now we serve kindergarten through grade 5 and serve over 100 children a week.
Wow.
So, but it was driven by the children and families, really, who just said, we want to keep coming. We want our children to keep coming. And so the congregation began to get a sense of that, I believe. And we have some volunteers that are directly involved in the program.
Who's directly involved in the program? I missed it.
We have some volunteers from the congregation directly involved in working with the children on a weekly basis. And then we have lots of efforts, as have been described, backpack projects, books for all the children at Christmas, some community dinners. We have a community garden, and so the children work in that. And so we use the produce from the garden at one point to offer at community dinner for their families. We've done a whole variety of things which has involved a larger group of congregants into the particular.
I want to ask you to go back to this, what you said at the beginning about how at first people had a watch and wait kind of attitude. And I'm guessing that lots of congregations who've started down this journey, that would ring a bell, that would resonate with them. So people want to sort of say, well, get your thing going and then I'll join you. Instead of coming, so how did that work out? Did you have a small group of people who said, okay, we're going to figure a thing out, or we're going to get a thing going, and then folks will, we're just going to trust that folks will opt in? Is that what you thought about, and then is that what happened?
Yes, it was a small group. It was, it consisted of some folks who were brave enough to sit on the back steps with Rebecca all those years ago, as well as some other people who joined when we move to a more formalized, structured program, which made them more comfortable. And I think the watch and wait was out of a lot of experience at St. Andrews with a variety of groups using our facilities, our parish hall and our church. And there have been some good experiences and some not so good experiences with sharing. And so I think to a certain degree that was on the minds of some folks. And so as we ran our programs, we were very respectful of making sure that we were not taking over all of the space and making sure that the evidence of the program that was visible on Sunday mornings was a very positive, representation of what was going on.
AJ, it sounded from what you were saying a while ago that you were really the key individual who brokered this relationship with Emerson Gridley and figured out, how to what school you were going to be in relationship with and to get some things started. Do you have a team? Do you identify your folks as a? Do you think of what you have now as a team that's working at the Emerson Gridley? Or I'm trying to figure out sort of how you organize the partnership.
Well, yeah, we do have a team of volunteers who go into the school on a regular basis. I'm definitely coordinating that effort, though, and I'm kind of the person to go to the school and speak with administration as far as what it is that they need and how we can best assist them. That's how we started the relationship. I think it's important that a new church-school relationship is kind of handled delicately in that that first meeting is the school that we work with was receiving a lot of donation assistance and things of that nature, but nothing was consistent and nothing was given without or actually, you know what I mean, to bring 150 backpacks and not check in with the school and say, what is it that your kids need the most? And so I knew that they appreciated me meeting with them and say, where are you? How can we assist you? And so that's where we went, and we definitely are a team as far as our group of tutors, and as a matter of fact, our canon musician who's organist, she started out last year by just tutoring once a week in the first grade classroom, and she has since then expanded her program to be once a week after school in their after-school Gears program, it's called, and she's working with about a dozen or more kids every week with music specifically. And you know what I mean? It's just neat to see these individuals and who can take these things and run with them. And I've already had some new tutors this year tell me, I've found my passion. It's just, it's just such a wonderful thing to see these folks who are a little scared to go into the schoolroom find that it's a wonderful place to be. Yeah, you have to tread a little carefully at first. I didn't want to go in there and say, we're going to help you and this is how we're going to do it. I wanted to be sure that, it really is so much fun because I can go to PTO meetings and I know, for instance, since the PTO is trying to, right now they're going to be providing a holiday shop for their, 85% of the children who attend Emerson Gridley are considered economically disadvantaged. So we're talking about one of the poorest parts of the city. So they want to be able to for these students to go in and buy presents for Christmas for their parents and grandparents and whatnot, able to do that for $5 or less. And so I'm able to tell them, oh, we can provide those presents for you. And so it's so much fun. It's fun for our congregation to go out and buy these things, and then I've got volunteers scheduled to go in during that holiday shop and wrap them. I mean, it's a lot of fun things as well as the hard work of going to the school on a weekly basis and tutoring. So
I want to shift and just ask a couple. We've got about 5 minutes before we go to the Q&A. So I want to reflect a little bit on the relationship of the diocese and diocesan leadership and support for this, especially with Tina on the call here. Jane, have you all at St. Andrews been in touch with your diocesan leaders, or is this a conversation that's happening at the diocesan level at all? Well, you're in a bit, so there's go ahead.
We certainly would not have been able to expand as we have without diocesan support. Once we moved beyond the group of kindergartners, we decided we needed to begin to hire staff. We are a small congregation, and it was unreasonable to expect that we could staff many grade levels with volunteers. And so the diocese has provided us with grant money from a variety of grants. We also have collaboration with the South Coast Hub. And so we are one of the projects of the Hub. The Hub finances our second and third grade levels at this point. And we're exploring how we can expand the Hub's involvement beyond just financial, so that more congregations might be able to be involved in this after-school program that happens to occur at St. Andrews, but should really represent to folks an opportunity, as was said earlier, to go out of the church into the
And
community.
let me just say a word about what the Hub is for people outside the Diocese of Massachusetts. It's a mission-focused grant opportunity that small groups of congregations come together and apply for this grant funding. So that's what it is that Jane is referring to. Tina, how have you seen the diocesan focus in New Hampshire? I mean, you mentioned that there are a number of congregations that are using All Our Children's 10 Steps as well as other ways of getting into this. But what let me think how I can focus this question for you. What kind of supports, I guess? I'm wondering for folks on the call, right? This question about what could people on the call, what might they look to their diocesan offices for, or ask for, or hope for?
Yeah.
All these dioceses are organized so differently with different missions and purposes according to their leaders, of course. But from your experience, what would you?
Well,
is that too vague a question?
I mean, I can talk from our own experience. I guess we're still trying to catch up to everything that our churches are already out there doing. So, I feel like we're still catching up. But I do think that we, in part, and will more, I hope, be able to create this network and be able to, tell the church in Claremont that is providing music lessons for kids that a church in Portsmouth is also providing music lessons for kids, and to connect them together. So I think partly it's being just a clearinghouse for, oh wow, you guys are doing this over in this western part of the state. There's something happening in this southern part of the state that's similar. You should talk. That's one thing. I mean, the second thing is we are also providing grant money. We have given one grant this year. We've got more to give, and we have more to raise, we hope, next year. So we're hoping to increase the level of grant funding. And we also are developing in our learning some recommendations, some best practices, some toolkits, I hope. We're not really there yet. We've got some from you, and there may be others that we adapt and recommend and use. So we're still doing some learning. We're partnering. I mean, I think the other thing that diocese can really help with is kind of creating partnerships with larger partners, not just the sort of local schools, but maybe on a statewide level, depending on how your educational system is set up. Or right now we have a great relationship with our community foundation in New Hampshire, which is devoting millions of dollars to the effort of stepping into the opportunity gap over the next 10 years. So they've got great resources, data, all of that, and we can sort of help, bring some of that back down to the local level. We're hoping to partner with Big Brothers and Big Sisters to create mentoring programs that don't exist in some parts of the state, and can help to bring those kinds of models to local congregations where there just aren't mentoring systems set up, but we know that they know how to do it. So how can we provide those types of larger partnerships?
Right. Great.
Oh, I guess I also want to mention that we're also hoping to do some work in the area of advocacy. We have a Northern New England advocacy partnership going on between Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. There's also something called the New Hampshire Children's Advocacy Fund. So we're hoping to partner with them around, some of these bigger issues that you're seeing on a local level in each and every little partnership, where there are systemic problems that need addressing, and to train our parishioners to stand up and speak out and be active in their communities, to advocate for more funding, to advocate for free athletics so that kids have to pay to play, just all those kinds of things. So how can we be a voice as well?
Well, I really want to make a note of that in our notes, because I think that might be a very fruitful topic for one of our upcoming webinars, and maybe we can figure out a way to actually do some online training actually as well to help make that happen. I want to turn our time together now this evening into our Q&A session, and Mary Liz, I've seen out of the corner of my eye that there's been some conversation going on over there in the chat room. Do you have some questions that you want to put to our presenters? And we just lost Jane somehow. So Jane, we just lost your camera, Jane. I don't know if we still have you on audio, but maybe you can see if you can get your camera, your webcam back up, or you may dial back in if you need to. Mary Liz, do you have some questions for us? Yeah.
I do have questions. So thanks, everybody, for chatting. I'll start by saying that I ran a quick poll to see where our participants are at, and we had a good mix of about 30% of the people on the call. This is their first learning about church-school partnerships, so they're really in exploratory phase. We have about another third who have one or two people at church who've talked about it, but they haven't taken any action steps. And then we have another couple of people, another 30%, who I think are Eleanor Brown and Lisa are from St. Mary's and Barnstable, they have formed a team and they are getting ready. They're taking some steps. So we've got all levels of explorers here, which is great. We'll start with Eleanor posed our first question, and this one is for Jane. And you touched on this a little bit, but I'm wondering if there's a specific sort of number. Once you were an organized group and ready to take action at the school, how many people were on your team at church when you started, sending volunteers in?
Well, again, our program is at the church, so it was bringing children to church. Right. And we started at, I would say, 5 or 6.
Okay, great. So Lisa and Eleanor, it sounds like you're on track with your 5 or 6 dedicated team members and your 6 or so sort of hangers on. Tina, Kirsten asked us how are congregations in New Hampshire asked for events or services done with community schools? So I think you developed a survey, is that right?
We did. We created a survey that we called a kind of ministry inventory and asked parishes to fill it out for any of the programs that they have that address the needs of low-income families or kids. We sent it out at our electronic e-news and that kind of thing for the diocese and asked people to fill it out in a variety of different ways. Some parishes did it, some parishes didn't. And then the commission has followed up with phone calls to the parishes. Most of our connections to our parishes are through our clergy members. So that's where we started. But some of those phone calls have led to additional conversations with lay leaders of different programs. We have 47 congregations in New Hampshire, and I think we have completed the survey with about 30 of them, but so we still have more to go. Although I think we're seeing some trends in the data, but we don't want to get too bogged down in data, but we're still making those phone calls.
That's great. Kirsten is a classroom teacher, and she's a worshiper at St. John the Baptist in Stanfordville. So I think she's probably interested in those results when you're ready to start sending them
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a report. We're almost ready to send it out. Can I just say, Kirsten and Sue, sorry, not to just promote New Hampshire people, but I love that the two of you are on because I really think one of the things that we've seen in New Hampshire is that there's definitely a role for clergy leadership, and a lot of this starts out with clergy members. But there's definitely, as Jane is a great example of, such an important role for people who are educators or retired educators, and we've definitely seen leadership there too.
That's right. That's right.
So Diana Rogers, she's at Good Shepherd in Orange, Connecticut, and she was contacted by a local school to come to a meeting of community leaders to see how the schools can partner with the community. And I'm wondering if any of you have some good wisdom about questions she should ask at that meeting.
There's a number of things. I mean, I would ask what their greatest needs are, and not just school supplies, but if they do have a type of team with community members who are looking to improve academic, behavioral performance, as well as if they are economically disadvantaged. I think there's a number of things you could ask.
Lally, do you have any wisdom on questions to ask the school leaders?
Yeah, I would ask if they have any history of partnerships with other community-based organizations. What you're looking for there is, do they see you just as a source of material need, or are they thinking of you as a connection into the community? So that's one question. And I think if your congregation is interested in exploring this, what you want to be looking for is this alignment between what AJ was just saying. It's incredibly important to put the needs of the school and the needs of the children at the center. But for the partnership to have vibrancy and longevity, it also needs to, the schools and the children's needs to align with the congregation's sense of itself, its charism, its gift, and its what you know of yourself that you already have, because you want to be living in relationship with the school out of your abundance, and not out of a sense of insufficiency. I think that but those are just things to listen for, in a conversation. So you might start, as we've heard from our from AJ, Tina, and Jane in their different ways. You might start with something pretty easy to do. you don't want to make big promises when you aren't really sure that either folks in your congregation are going to come along or that the school is really going to let you in an authentic way. So do something little and doable that can be done in a limited amount of time. And then if that works, you'll have built trust on both sides. And then in time, it can grow.
Great, thank you. Another question for Jane. This is from Judy in New Haven, and her congregation is very small, about 30 members, and, as we know, many of our churches are struggling, and she feels that they are a struggling parish. But she's interested in, and she's a school volunteer, and so she wants to know, Jane, sort of as a small congregation, how has your partnership maybe re-energized the congregation, and what trends have you seen over time, and how the partnership supports congregational life?
Well, certainly for those volunteers who are directly involved, if you want a real boost, you just come to the after-school program. The children are so engaging and so delightful, and they are just appreciating individual attention, which is often hard for teachers to give, given the demands of the curriculum, often hard for parents to give, given the demands of working, keeping food on the table, a roof over their head, and dealing with family, whatever the family issues might be. So, you cannot walk away without receiving more than you give. The children are just inspiring, and they're just, to me, I see the grace of God very frequently among the children. In terms of the larger congregation, it has certainly helped us to feel a reason for being in the neighborhood. We certainly have a lot of outreach programs. We have a food pantry. We have a music ministry. We do laundry love. We do all kinds of things. But this has really, it seems to have regenerated and helped to expand enthusiasm for the variety of outreach programs that we have. People just feel more connected and in a very positive way with the folks in the neighborhood. And over the years that we've been operating, we have had some families join our congregation. We've had a number of children baptized in the church. So, more and more, we are definitely reconnecting with our neighborhood, which was part of our original goal.
That's great, thanks. And I'm going to put in a quick plug. Judy, I know you said your vestry meeting is tomorrow, so I hope you can take some learning back to your vestry and maybe invite them to join us in November. Our next call is focused on the growth impact of church-school partnerships on the congregation, and we'll have a different group of panelists talking specifically about how they've seen the partnerships impact their church. So one thing you may be able to do at your vestry meeting is tell them that you came to this and that our next one is in November, and that everyone should get on the call together so then you can talk about it again next time. And the last question I'll put out there is from Sue in New Hampshire, and she wants to know, and Lally, this may be for you, although AJ, I think you can talk to this a little since this is your experience, about if starting with principals or superintendents is a place to start before forming a team at church. So Sue is the rector of her congregation, and she's wondering if that is, if she's interested in spearheading this as a ministry, if that is a useful path.
AJ, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I guess if there's a district office, maybe check in with them and let them know what you're doing. After you just want to go through the right protocol, but I found that my first person of contact was the school counselor. But as soon as the administration changed, that changed as well. And now my number one contact is the principal. And it's, it just is going to depend. I would say you can't it can't hurt to make a few phone calls and just see what happens.
I would add to that. I think Mary Liz said that Sue is in New Hampshire, and if you're in a small town, and I don't know for sure, Sue, that this is your situation, but if you're in a small town, I think that the sense of overlap between our kids, that wonderful phrase that Robert Putnam uses, is huge. Where there's a sense that the congregation, that the Episcopal Church is for the whole town and the school is for the whole town. And I think that you might very well have a very strong alignment between the school leaders. They might well be very interested in exploring this with you. And I think it's also a very powerful way for the clergy to exercise community leadership and just to say, we're here and we care about all of our kids, and see where that conversation goes. Tina, do you want to add anything on that from the experience of the commission and from your perspective, in the diocese?
Yeah, I think I would just echo what other people said, which is that start the conversation wherever you can start it. I mean, we do have one town in New Hampshire that's a little bigger than where Sue's from, but they also started conversations with the police department and other kind of a youth organization that already existed in the town, and did kind of an entire community inventory, as well as talking to the schools. So I think, as AJ said, really wherever the conversation, wherever you can start it and wherever it is going to be fruitful.
Great. Well, I'm going to begin to move us towards our close. We are going to be ending it at 8:15. And what we'd like to do now is a very quick evaluation. And the way that we want to do that, please, is to ask everyone to use the chat function that's there on your screen, and start by sharing with everybody on the call what you would affirm, what worked well in this call. As I said earlier, this is our first of our monthly webinars, so we are in learning mode. We want to know how the technology worked for you. Let's start with affirmations. What worked well? What did you like? What went smoothly? What do you celebrate? And just type away. We want to hear from everybody because that's how we're going to learn the most. And then, and then tell us what we might do better the next time. How we can learn to make this, use the technology better, make it smoother, make it more interactive, whatever else it is that you want. So I see lots of people, multiple attendees typing. That's what we like. Yeah. So we're just going to give you a couple minutes so that everybody can jump in there.
And while people are typing, I'm just going to put out a little PSA. Don't stop your typing. Don't stop giving us your feedback. But when you're ready, there are 2 PDF resources that you can download directly from this call. One is partnership prayers. These are a really easy way to introduce your congregation to the idea of partnership. Print them out, take them in, use them in prayers of the people, start a Bible study with them, what have you. There are about 6 or 8 of them on this sheet, and we've put these together and curated them. And we also have a one-page types of partnerships document. So this is an outline of the 4 sort of categories of church-school partnerships that we at All Our Children see most often when people come to us and join or start a partnership. And this is a good resource if you're not a clergy person to take to your clergy person and say, here are some options, these are opportunities, and if you are a clergy person, print it out and say, okay, I think this serves the strengths of my congregation. I want to start talking to them about this. So those are sort of bottom center of your screen. You can download them right from here. And you can also find other resources at our website, which is allourchildren.org. Pretty simple. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter there. You can join us as a member if you want to. That's cost-free. So we have lots of other information for all of you.
Great, great. Thanks, Mary Liz. Keep typing, everybody. We want to keep hearing from you. We do want to thank you all for being with us this evening. This has been a lot of fun. You'll get an email from Julie Lytle that will include a link so that where you can go and listen to this the webinar again. It has been recorded. We also want to remind you that these are open to the public. So please share that link around to other people that you think might be interested in it, and invite others to join us next month. Anyone who has the link can register. It's being sponsored by the Episcopal Diocese of New England, but it's open to anybody all over the country. Our next webinar, the date is Tuesday, November 29th. This is the 5th Tuesday. That is the 5th Tuesday of November because, of course, the previous Tuesday is the week of Thanksgiving. Tuesday, November 29th from 7 to 8:15, and that on our topic will be the impact of church-school partnerships on congregations and how we see the congregations being revitalized. Future webinars, they'll all be on the 4th Tuesday of the month from January through May. And we're still deciding on our topics. There will be an opportunity. We want to hear from you all, from other participants, what topics and issues are on your mind. So watch for All Our Children's monthly newsletter, which you can sign up for on our webpage if you're not already receiving that. The announcements of the webinars will be in that each month. So thank you all thank you for everything that you are already doing in your communities. As Tina said at our opening, God is already active in the world, and you are God's hands and feet. So thank you and bless you for the work that you are doing. I particularly want to thank Tina and AJ and Jane for being with us this evening, for the preparation, the thoughtfulness, the prayer that you put in to your work every day, and also for being here with us tonight. So God bless you all, and goodbye.